thanks for joining me. I've just finished packing for the incredible trip to Namibia. So the plan is that myself and about a dozen other people from Rally for Rangers will be purchasing bikes out in Namibia and then riding them around 2,000 kilometers or so through the countryside. At the end of that trip, we will be donating these bikes to the community park rangers. And that's just so that they can use them to patrol the vast areas that they've got and keep the animals, particularly the wildlife there, some of the endangered wildlife, safe from poachers, but also other important roles that they have, peacekeeping roles. Today, I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about that route. So hold on a second. Okay, so here is a map of Namibia. Which is absolutely stunning country, known for its diverse landscapes, for its wildlife, and of course for its conservation efforts. So there's lots of wildlife, cheetah that's indigenous to Namibia, and not just in the parks themselves, but white and black rhinos, endangered rhinos. If it wasn't for the efforts of these park rangers, it probably would be extinct by now. So they do a hugely valuable role, so giving them a chance to carry out that role effectively is hugely rewarding for us, and so I'm really grateful to be there. Now let's just quickly run through the arrival and the destination points basically. So arriving at Windhoek Airport, so that's the capital of the town, or capital of the country, sorry. It is largest city in Namibia and is around about 5,600 feet above sea level. So it's geographically as well in the centre. You can't tell it from here because my map finishes there, but it's in the centre of the country. Okay. From that point on, obviously acclimatising. Fortunately, it's only an hour difference, so that's not really a huge problem. But the trip first will be locating us. The first day will be locating us to Midgard, which is where we'll set off officially. So Midgard means the Empire of the People, and that's very deeply rooted, apparently, that name in German mythology. I'd like to look that up at some point, but that's what that means. There's a little lodge there that we're going to start from, and it's in the African bush, so it'll be a great way to start. We'll be just checking the bikes over, doing safety checks, etc., before we leave on day 2, which will be leaving towards Ombe. So there's some fine dirt roads. I haven't got the exact route here, but there's some very fine dirt tracks, which probably aren't even on this map. But we aim to cover about 157 kilometres, hopefully around about 80 kilometres an hour. So not a hugely long one. But getting used to the bike, most of it, open and dusty tracks, and then we'll just take in the views as we go. And this is actually a private game reserve, so it will be amazing to see some giraffes, maybe some zebra and cheetahs, watching that in their natural habitat, but if we've got time for those. From that, the next day is a little trip over to Okinjima. So this is a reserve campsite. Push ourselves a little bit further along here, a little bit further route. Progressive approach, I think, to ease us into this. I mean, I'm not an expert off-road rider, so I'll be really pleased for that. That's slightly nicer introduction. So that is Okinjima as a reserve campsite, the foot of the Ombokoro Mountains, and it's apparently a great spot for leopards. So we might be able to see some of those there. It's well off the beaten track, and it should be some. It's called a sundowner view site, which means that hopefully there'll be some great opportunities to see to film some sunrises and sunsets, and I will be filming this whole thing anyway, so there will be an opportunity to see all of these places secondhand, because I'm doing firsthand, right? Okay, so that's Okinjima. Okay, so that's that. Next day, day 4, is Okinjima-Etontongwe. That's just a lunch stop, so it'll be a trip up to here again via some dirt roads, and through a town called Kalfeld, which is apparently managed by its own elected council and downgraded back to a settlement. It's still home to about 5,000 people, so I'm looking forward to that. Etontongwe Lodge will be where we stay, and that's in the Etosha region of Namibia, which is close to the Etosha National Park, which is probably one of the most well-known, if not the well-known, definitely in Namibia, one of the most well-known national parks out there. So that should be amazingly good to see some interesting animals that are around there. From that point, it's to Hoada, to campsite. So we're going closer to the sea there. This is the longest day in distance terms, but hopefully there will be some fast-flowing dirt roads covering that, about 220 kilometres. I expect to stop and look and take some nice pictures. And then we'll be setting up at the Hoada campsite, which is truly in the wilderness, and accessed only by gravel tracks, accessible by only high ground clearance vehicles, surrounded by massive boulders. I've been looking at some pictures, some peony trees, very well-equipped site apparently, so should be able to get some really nice shots of animals and the scenery around the area. So really looking forward to doing that. We've been practicing quite a bit. So from that point, there's the Hoada-Ongongo waterfall site. So I'll just try and find that. Yeah, here we go. So from here, Hoada up to, that's quite a long trip to the waterfall site. Now that will be an amazing thing. I'm hoping to get into the waterfall because I'm doing quite a lot of wild swimming here in Scotland. So that will be something I definitely want to do. It's going to be quite challenging, this one, more ditches and ruts along this route. So we're going to be going a bit slower, I reckon, around about sort of to get to there. Probably 50 kilometres, I suppose. And then it's a very technical winding track around the village to get in there. So Ongongo, I think I pronounced it right, Ongongo means hero in Herero language. It's supposed to be spectacular in a small canyon in the far northwest of Namibia, in an utterly barren landscape with only a handful of very small villages around them. There's this permanent, the waterfall is, I guess, permanent water spring that comes out of the mountain, and apparently it is warm enough to swim in all year round. So going in July is actually probably the coldest month, and although it'll be around, temperatures could be up to about 20 in the day, they will fall to up to nearly 0 at night. So it's going to be quite an interesting thing. Lots of layers, lots of layers for that one. After going from Ongongo, there's a trip to Onganga. Okay, so that is up another notch again with the introduction of sand as well and rutty sections. You can just see it here. You could just tell by the topography there that it's going to be quite an interesting ride, that one. It's probably the toughest, I'm told, and we're going to have to push a bit harder on our bikes over the terrain to reach Onganga for the overnight stay. And then from that, it's the Bush Lodge. So on Onganga over to the Puros Bush Lodge, and that's the first sight of the sea. So that's going to be beautiful. I'm told that is the hardest riding of the day. It is getting progressively worse, isn't it? We push through more gravel tracks and sand dunes from that trip, picking our way through the terrain. I think at low speeds will be the order of the day. And it will certainly test the little Yamaha build quality to the max, as well as us. But that's it. That's what it's about being challenged. We stay in the Puros Bush Lodge, which is next to the Horisib River. There's a small village, Himba village of Puros, is apparently a gem of Kaokaland. The camp is situated just a few kilometres upstream, under some giant thorn trees, apparently. So that's going to be awesome. Apparently there's elephants and giraffes all the way around. They're strolling around, just minding their own business. So that's going to be amazing. I'm also looking forward to hearing the birds as well and the bird song. So it's going to be pretty amazing all the way, I think. And then day 10, that's day 9, is Puros-wild camping. So this should be fun. We just camp up, pick a site and just camp. I'm hoping that it will be all right for the creatures that crawl on the ground. So if there's a hammock, I will hopefully try and use it if there's the opportunity. But that's going to be amazing through sand, mud and water, I reckon. And yeah, looking forward to catching some great pictures of elephants there. Right, and then Torra Bay campsite from that. More sand, mud, water from this trip here, because you can see there's no roads there. So it's all just picking our way across. And this is of course the Skeleton Coast. This is called the whole area across here. But then after that, apparently it smooths out to a salt road. So I'm familiar with salt, so that's fine for me. And then we stay at the Torra Bay campsite. Apparently it's a rich fishing resort as well, famous fishing retreat. So not that I'm into fishing, but I quite like the relaxing feeling of just watching people fish. Okay, so from that point on, it's to Twyfelfontein Lodge, a trip to Twyfelfontein Lodge, which is apparently a more relaxing ride between the Namib Desert and the Atlantic Ocean. So this area here, and there'll be an ocean breeze, hopefully, that will refresh us as we ride along. So that's going to be nice. And then more salt roads. Twyfelfontein Lodge is apparently a landmark in heart of one of the world's most spectacular wilderness areas. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, so home to one of the most extensive collections of rock art engravings in southern Africa. Okay, so this is the point where we stay and we say goodbye to the bikes. Da-da. And we prepare them for the handover ceremony. So any minor, things that need changing, because we will be riding them around the country. So they probably need a good old service, and anything that's a bit worn will be replaced. So we're carrying all those spares with us. So we're not handing over anything that's not kind of tip-top condition. And then we'll have a ceremony, and hopefully there'll be some media there and some other people. But most importantly, that's where we will talk to the rangers, and we will give our individual rangers the bikes and little mementos and little gifts of toolkits and things like that. So that will be the last thing that happens. From there, obviously, I won't have a bike anymore, so it'll be just probably some boring four-wheel drive. Boring, she's talking, going through deserts. It's not boring. So it'll be that, and then going back to spend a day probably just waiting for the plane in Windhoek. So that's it. That's the map. That's the route that we're going to be following, and I'm going to be posting some bits and pieces, probably on my Facebook and maybe on my YouTube channel as I go along, and then hopefully put together a proper kind of a mini documentary of it all, which I hope to show at a festival or various places. But if you're interested in that, obviously follow me on all those things, or just look at the Rally for Rangers website and see what the routes are for the other places they travel to do the same thing, in particular Mongolia, which is where it all started. So that's it. That's my trip sort of laid out. Not got much to do now. I've got ahead, got the packing done. So it's just now taking a deep breath and getting ready for the adventure. So I hope that you'll enjoy watching it and also go on your own adventures soon. Take care. Bye.